another part I wanted to discuss was content strategy, right? Like all of these super teams have one thing in common, which is amazing content and distribution that everyone's working towards, right? You yourself have managed to build like a personal brand, right? And you've helped like super teams content also reach to next level, whether it's like ecosystem calls, whether it's the recent video about like ETH maxis, right? All these different things, right? And so what is like the content playbook, right? I feel that you need to invoke some sense of emotion to the person who's looking at the content. Again, in lines with what you mentioned about the peak theory, right? So what are some kind of content things that right now builders should work on? Especially the new hackathon is coming right around the corner, right? And everyone should build in public. That's always been the motto, right? What is some kind of content strategies that they can like take care of?
Yeah, so I think if you're a new builder, you have kind of two options, right? So the first one is vampire attack other people's distribution.
Soland.
Soland style, yeah, you saw that. That's off the camera. We can talk more about that one. But yeah, so there's a lot that you can do. The mistake people will make is like they just shout into the void continuously and there's no one to listen and no one gives a fuck, quite frankly. So you have to find other people's distribution that you can hijack. Oftentimes that's going to start, I think that's why super teams are so valuable in their countries, because you're going to jump into the super team and immediately you can talk to 150 people who are really talented, right? And who might help you spread the message. So your first strategy has to be to appear on, let's say, other people's podcasts. If you're on Twitter, you're replying to a lot of tweets. You're not actually trying to tweet as much as you are replying. If you are doing, if you're doing long form writing, you want to set it up in opposition to something somebody else has written. So you'd be like, here's what Soland or Margin5 is doing wrong. Like, those kinds of things are what are going to help you capture some of that attention early on. And then I think the second thing is being really clear on what the kind of outcomes you're driving for. So are you creating content in order to get users? Are you doing it to speak to influencers and try to like broaden your network? Are you trying to raise capital and so on? Each of them probably has a slightly different strategy. But in all cases, I think you want to play to your strengths. Like not everyone is great on camera. You know, not everyone can be a Charville. You know? Not everyone's like the best writer. So you got to kind of figure out where you can kind of pick it apart and win. Mostly what I recommend is like if you're a builder and you're a really high quality kind of software developer, not super likely that you're also going to be very good at content. There certainly are some people like Armani, for example, from Backpack. But in general, you want to team up with somebody who's going to be really good at getting distribution. Like Tristan from Backpack, for example.
And hacker houses are like a great place to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're building something early on, the mistake is to think it's got to be 4 devs lying on the floor. Like, no, you actually want a well-balanced team. That's one of the foundational insights of Super Team as well, is if you just have devs in a room, they can't do too much. Like you need to have the designers and the marketers and the distribution people there as well, so that the projects kind of flourish. So I'd say like go find friends that compensate for your weaknesses and start to build stuff with them.
And for people who are looking specially for users, right, who are trying to find their first 100 users, what are the specific kind of content that they should create? It could be like threads, vlogs, whatever, right? But like, what are some things that they should take care of?
I think market maps are like a real underexplored resource here. So like to make content, let's say that you're building a borrow lend protocol, right? A really easy way to get your users is to just do a market map of all the borrow lend across all the chains. Be like, hey, here are the 5 unique strengths that happen. And then at the bottom, you're like, hey, by the way, we've taken these insights, we've consolidated them, and we've built the best one. You should come check us out. And what you're able to do there is speak to the audience that is most likely to be your power users. There's a lovely book called Crossing the Chasm. Have you read Crossing the Chasm by Jeffrey Moore? You should definitely read it. Everyone else read it as well. It's the best tech marketing book ever written. It's just about how technology spread and kind of like mass psychology. And the basic insight of the book is that you have this technology curve where technologies get adopted early on by people who are kind of visionaries, you might say, then by early adopters, or visionaries, innovators, early majority, late majority. There's a few different steps. The basic point, though, is that if you're trying to get like the average user early on in the lifestyle of your product, it's not going to work because your product sucks. No one knows about you. You have no good case studies, all this other kind of stuff. So you want to speak very specifically to the power users. And market maps are useful because power users are always looking for new options to try out. Another option here is like resource guides, right? So like, let's say you're doing some dev tooling on, you're building like something that makes it easier to develop on like mobile SDKs. Do a survey of all the mobile SDKs that are out there.
Like Yash, he has like amazing research reports, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yash HSM and Yash Bhardwaj, by the way, as well, the designer. He does great stuff with like Roast Your Dap, right? He's a designer. And so he just looks at other designs, makes fun of them. He does it in this kind of like fun, edgy way. And it draws a lot of attention to him as well. So the bottom line is make content that your power users are most interested in consuming. And if you don't know what that content is, you got to rethink if you're building in the right area.